Hello, I'm here with Dr. Michael Green, who's been a driving force behind the Sunnylands Principles. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Jim, and congratulations on all the work JCIA has done in this space.
Now, Mike, please tell us why are you doing the Sunnylands Principles now? Why not 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
In 2006, after I had left the White House, the National Security Council, one of the first things I published as an academic was a strategy piece in the American Interest saying it was time for the U.S. to work with other democracies in Asia to move forward our common interest in a more democratic form of government. But based on a recognition that there are many paths to democracy and Asia is an eclectic place. And this was in 2006, and there seemed to be some hope then. President Bush, for whom I worked, made democracy a central theme in his second inaugural. Prime Minister Abe came on the scene in 2006, promising Kachikan Gaiko, values diplomacy. But the time wasn't ripe. The Iraq war was becoming unpopular, and Americans were doubting our ability to contribute to democratic norms. Abe-san faltered, maybe overplayed his hand a little bit at first. Governments changed in Indonesia, Mongolia, and other places that had championed democracy. But now I think the timing is ripe again, and that's why we were so excited to call together some of the best thinkers on democracy across the Indo-Pacific in Sunnylands, California for a strategy session. And I'm just delighted that we have this real constellation of civil society groups and governments and former government officials thinking about how we can move this agenda forward. CSIS, the National Endowment for Democracy, IRI and NDI, Takasu, Ambassador Takasu in Japan, Marty Natalegawa in Indonesia, in Korea and India. We all have different experiences to bring to the table, but I think there's now a real recognition that we need to coordinate more and think harder about how we expand the democratic space, because it's under some assault, including at home in the US, and we all have to pick up our game.
The Sunnyland Principles cover a wide range of areas, but what are the two or three issues that people should really focus on?
Well, the first and most important thing we all agreed on, and these were experienced thinkers on this from across the Pacific Rim and the Indian Ocean. The first and foremost principle was democracy is a fundamental human right in the UN Charter and in many other international agreements. And it's important for states with the diverse experiences of the United States, Korea, India, Indonesia, to have intellectuals, to have thought leaders, statesmen and women say that together. And secondly, we need to reinforce that democracy delivers, that while there is some backsliding, while there are challenges of globalization, it still is the preferred form of government across the entire Indo-Pacific, with the notable exception, of course, of China. But even there's recognition that good governance, women's empowerment, and things like that matter. We emphasize that there are eclectic experiences, as I said, that India is doing things in this space, Indonesia is doing things in this space, and that rather than fight with each other about the best form of democracy support or the best form of democracy itself, let's pool our efforts, let's coordinate, let's mainstream democracy, democratic norms, good governance in all of our work together, diplomacy, development, and finance, and coordinate more. So there's a real constellation of groups, as I said, thinking along these lines, not telling each other how to do our business, but learning from each other, which is exciting.
And on January 20th, we will have a new president in the United States. Do you see the approach changing?
Yes, for a couple of reasons. One is Joe Biden has clearly signaled that support for democratic governance will be a core theme for his administration. It's interesting, he's proposed a summit of democracies. The last presidential candidate to propose that was a guy I worked for, John McCain. And this was in 2008. And then candidate Obama and his vice president poo-pooed the idea. Democracy and a concert of democracies or a league of democracies or a summit of democracies was considered, a little too much at that time. But now, because of Russian interference, because of what's happened in Hong Kong, because of backsliding in many countries, including challenges in the US, President-elect Biden has decided and this reflects where I think American thinking is, that we need to reinforce support for democracy, and we need to reinforce our commitment to it. So it will be different. It will not be, well, it'll be interesting to see how they handle this Summit of Democracies. Do you invite every democracy? Do you invite just donor countries like the US or Canada or Japan that provide support for democracy? Do you invite transitioning democracies? It's a little tricky to figure out. And I think the Biden transition team is going to have to decide exactly how they play this. But I think the emphasis will be on embracing diversity, embracing eclectic approaches, working with Indonesia, which does democracy its own way in the Bali Forum. You know, Syria and Iran, countries like that get invited to the Bali Forum. The US, Canada, Japan, we would never do that. India has its own approach. I think the Biden administration will do something like, I believe, like our Sunnylands principles, which is ambitious but calibrated to work with key partners in the region.
Well, thank you, Mike, for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you.